If your life isn't changing, it's not because you're not trying. It's because you're trying to change the external without realizing that everything external is a consequence. And here's the uncomfortable part. You can watch 1,000 videos, read books, repeat affirmations, but if your internal state remains the same, your life is bound to repeat itself. It's not punishment, it's not bad luck, it's coherence. And the most shocking part of all is, you're already manifesting right now. The problem isn't that you don't know how to manifest. The problem is that you're manifesting automatically. Forget everything you've been told about manifestation for a second. There aren't multiple laws, there aren't complicated hidden secrets, there's only one. You don't manifest what you want, you manifest what you are. And that completely changes the game. Because then it doesn't matter how much you want something. If you're not a person aligned with it, you won't be able to hold on to it, not even if you get it by luck. It's like wanting a life of discipline, but internally being chaos. It lasts 2 days, 3 if you're motivated and slept well. Why doesn't your life change even though you try? This is where most people get stuck because they think they're doing the work. But in reality, they're only changing the surface. They think positively but feel fear. They affirm abundance but live in scarcity. They say everything will be all right, but they doubt all the time. That's not coherence, it's contradiction. And the universe doesn't respond to what you say, it responds to what you hold. It's like trying to fool someone by smiling, while inside you're clearly upset. It shows, and life notices it too. Your problem isn't your situation, it's the identity you're living from. Because your identity defines your decisions, defines your emotions, defines what you tolerate, defines what you believe is possible. And here's where it gets interesting. Your mind doesn't look for what's best for you. It looks for what's familiar, even if what's familiar is destroying you. That's why someone might complain about their life and at the same time sabotage any opportunity for change. Not because they're stupid, but because they're being consistent with who they are. But Jacobo Grinberg talked about something fascinating. Reality is not something fixed. It's a field that responds to your perception. You're not seeing the world as it is. You're seeing the world as you are, and that's uncomfortable. Because it means you can't blame the outside forever, but it's also liberating because then you do have control. Not over everything that happens, but over where you're experiencing it from. The mistake everyone makes. Most people try to manifest like this. I want this, I desire this, I'm going to attract this, but from a frequency of I don't have it. And that's key. Because every time you desire something from a place of lack, you reinforce the lack. It's like asking for food by saying, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, but never actually eating. At some point, the problem is no longer the food. What manifesting really is. Manifesting is not about attracting things. It's about holding a state so coherent that reality has no choice but to align, not because it's magic, but because everything works by resonance. If you change the signal, you change what you receive. It's that simple, and it's that difficult. How do you really change your frequency? This is where everyone waits for the magical moment. The do this and your life changes in 24 hours. The secret trick, the hidden technique, the ultimate hack. There isn't one. And I know that doesn't sell as much, but that's what works. Because what does exist is something much more powerful. Conscious practice isn't spectacular, it's not instant, but it's real. And when you do it right, it's unstoppable. Watch your internal state. Not your stray thoughts, not what you say from time to time, your baseline state. Feeling better the whole day when no one is watching you, when you're not motivated, when you're not trying to do things right. Well, that's the truth because that's what you're constantly putting out. Many people dislike hearing this. It doesn't matter if you say in the morning, Today is going to be great eagles. Then you're stressed, complaining, comparing yourself, or thinking that everything is going wrong. The dominant frequency wins always. It's like going to the gym for 10 minutes and then spending 10 hours eating poorly. There's no mystery in the result. And it's not about judging yourself, it's about realizing it. Because the moment you realize it, you start to gain power. Break out of autopilot. Most people live on autopilot. They react without thinking, respond the same way as always, complain about the same things, feel the same way day after day, and then they wonder why their life doesn't change, because you are not changing. And I'm not saying this as a criticism, I'm saying it because it's normal. Your mind is designed to repeat patterns, to save energy, to keep you in what's familiar, even if what's familiar is chaos. That's why you should start observing yourself. Really? Not superficially. Observe yourself when something doesn't go your way. Observe yourself when someone annoys you. Observe yourself when you feel anxious for no clear reason. There you're seeing your frequency live, without filters, without theory, and don't try to change it right away. That's the mistake. First, look at it. Because trying to change something you don't understand is like trying to fix a car with your eyes closed. Spoiler, it doesn't end well. Use your body. This is key, and almost no one uses it. Here's a killer shortcut that most people completely ignore: your body. Because your mind can say everything is fine, I'm calm, I trust the process. But if you're slouched over with a tense jaw, breathing quickly with your chest tight, your body is screaming something else. And the field responds to that, not to your motivational speech. That's why changing your physical state changes your frequency faster than trying to convince yourself with thoughts. Try this. Straighten up right now. Take a deep, slow, controlled breath. Relax your shoulders. And stay like that for a few seconds. Your state has already changed a bit, without thinking anything, without repeating phrases. Just by changing the signal, it's like changing the antenna of a radio. You don't explain to the radio that you want another song, you change the frequency. Stop talking down to yourself. Seriously, that's enough. This point seems basic, but it's powerful. Because most people have an inner dialogue that if they heard it from someone else, they would block that number immediately. I'm useless. I'm not enough. The same thing always happens to me. I never make it. Imagine having a friend like that, telling you those things every day. After a week, you'd already be looking for excuses not to see them. But with you, that voice lives inside your head, for free, without rest, 24/7. And the worst part is that you believe it. You don't question it. You don't stop it. You take it as the truth. And every time you repeat it, you reinforce your frequency. It's not just a thought, it's a program. And this isn't about lying to yourself with fake positive phrases. It's about stopping the internal abuse. Because you can't build a different life talking to yourself like your worst enemy. Emotion, the accelerator. This is the point where everything becomes real. You can think about something 1,000 times, but if you don't feel it, it doesn't integrate, it doesn't sink in, it doesn't transform. Emotion is what sets the frequency. It's what gives it weight. It's what gives it direction. That's why fear is so powerful, because it's not just an idea. It's an experience in the body, and that's why it traps you. But here's where it gets interesting. Gratitude, belief, calm, confidence. They are also experiences. They are also real states. They aren't nice things. They're active frequencies. The difference is that you're not used to holding them, because the brain is trained to detect problems, not to sustain well-being. That's why at first it feels strange, artificial, as if you were fooling yourself, but you're not. You're retraining yourself. It's like when you start going to the gym, everything hurts, everything feels uncomfortable, and you feel like it's not for you, until one day it starts to feel natural. Real integration, where everything comes together. This is where most people fail, because they try to apply all of this separately, but it doesn't work that way. This is a system. Your internal state, your body, your inner dialogue, your emotions. Everything is connected. You can't change one while ignoring the others. But when you start to align them, even if it's just a little, something changes. And that something is enough to start the process. You don't need to make it perfect. You don't need to be in a high vibration all day. You just need to stop living completely on autopilot and start little by little to choose who you are being. Because in the end, you are not what you want. You are manifesting what you practice being every day. And that changes everything. However, before revealing to you the most powerful practice, listen. I know that sometimes it's scary, scared of staying stuck, of feeling like you do everything and nothing changes, of repeating the same mistakes over and over again. But there is a way to break that cycle. Audible gives you access to long audiobooks. They're full of deep teachings and real practices that help you understand your mind, your emotions, and your energy. You can listen to them while you're on the go, relaxing, or even before you go to sleep, and you start to feel that little by little your perspective changes, your energy rises, and your life begins to respond to what you truly desire. These audiobooks aren't just for listening, you experience them, and that's the best part. You have a 30-day free trial. Alink.com in the description. Listen to them, connect with every word, and let your frequency transform from the inside out. The most powerful practice, and nobody does it right. Before going to sleep, when everything turns off, when the noise of the day quiets down, when you're no longer running, not replying to messages, not thinking about unfinished tasks, your mind enters a completely different state. More open, more receptive, more impressionable. It's as if for a few minutes the doors to the subconscious are left ajar. And here's the problem. Most people waste that moment. They fall asleep with their phone in their face, watching random content, thinking about problems, going over everything that went wrong during the day. And then they wonder why their life doesn't change. It's like programming the system wrong every night, and for months, for years, and expecting different results. Now, here comes the important part. In that state, you don't need to do much. In fact, the more you try to force it, the worse it works. Because this isn't about repeating 1,000 affirmations like a robot. It's not. I am abundant. I am abundant. I am abundant. While inside you're thinking, I don't even believe myself. That doesn't work. That's like trying to convince someone by shouting at them. It doesn't create coherence, it creates resistance. So, what do? Do something much simpler and much more powerful. Assume that you already are that person. But get this straight. It's not about imagining an exaggerated movie. It's not about seeing yourself in a mansion with millions, with a perfect life, while you know it doesn't feel real. That creates distance. And your mind detects it instantly. This goes another way, much more subtle, much smarter. It's about feeling it as something normal, as if it were already part of you, as if it weren't a goal but an identity. For example, if you want security, don't picture yourself giving a speech to thousands, unless that's already natural for you. Start with something more real. How does someone confident feel in everyday life? How do they walk? How do they respond? How does he feel with himself when he's alone? That's it. That's what you have to start assuming if you want abundance. Don't think about millions all at once, because your mind is going to laugh, literally. No, but you can feel this. I'm at peace with my financial life. I trust that I always find solutions. I don't live in constant stress over money. That already changes your frequency. That is already believable. That already starts to move things. Because here is the key that almost no one understands. The subconscious doesn't respond to exaggeration. It responds to what is familiar. And you are creating familiarity, not fantasy. Now, something important, don't force it, seriously. If you sit there saying, I have to feel it, I have to feel it, I have to feel it, you're already ruining it. That's anxiety disguised as spiritual practice. And the subconscious doesn't respond well to pressure. It responds to naturalness. Keep it simple, lie down, close your eyes, breathe a little slower. And for a few minutes, get into the feeling that this is already a part of me. No tension, no effort, no drama. It can be something very subtle, almost imperceptible, but that's enough. Because you're not trying to impress anyone. You're reprogramming your internal state, and here comes something that's going to blow your mind. You don't need to do it perfectly. You don't need to feel it intensely. You don't need it to be magical. You need to do it consistently, because this works by accumulation, not by intensity. It's like going to the gym. The first day doesn't change anything. The second day doesn't either. But after weeks, you start to notice something. And after months, you're already a different person. This is exactly the same, but on the inside. Now, and pay attention to this because it's key. What you feel before you sleep keeps working all night. Your mind doesn't turn off. It keeps processing. It keeps organizing. It keeps reinforcing patterns. So you have two options. Keep falling asleep with stress, worry, and mental noise. Or start falling asleep with the right identity. You don't need 30 minutes. You don't need a complicated routine. Sometimes 2 or 3 minutes done right are worth more than an entire ritual done wrong. And here comes the final detail that makes the difference. Don't do it as something you just have to do. Do it like, this is who I'm starting to become. Because the moment you turn it into an obligation, it loses its power. But when you turn it into your identity, it becomes integrated. And one day, without realizing it, you're going to react differently. You're going to think differently. You're going to make different decisions. And you're going to say, I don't know exactly when it happened, but something changed. That's where real change begins. Not when you understand it. Not when you hear it. When you start doing it, even before you see it. When everything starts to change. Nothing happens, and that makes you desperate. Because you want quick results. But this isn't an app you download, it's an identity change. And that takes consistency. But one day you start reacting differently. You start thinking differently. You start choosing differently. And without realizing it, your reality starts to shift. Not all at once, but inevitably. The final truth, the one nobody wants to hear. You need more information. You need to apply it. Because you can understand this perfectly and keep living the same way. And that happens a lot. People who know everything, but nothing changes. Because knowing doesn't transform. Being does. Yes? The universe isn't ignoring you. It's reflecting you. You're not stuck. You're being consistent with your current state. And the moment you change that, everything starts to reorganize. Not because the world changes, but because you changed first. If you've made it this far, I want you to do something simple. Write in the comments, I am already that frequency. But not as an empty phrase. Read it, feel it. And above all, start acting like someone who already is that. Because that's where it stops being theory. And it starts to become reality.